At the same time, there is a minority that, recognizing the essential danger of the time, a danger which success and prosperity and world power cannot conceal from us, recognizing this danger, there are some who are seeking to restore an adequate concept of life. And here, in this case also, we are very close to the Neoplatonists, working with the problem that they faced. They realized certain basic weaknesses in the spiritual leadership of religion. We have also recognized these weaknesses. We have fought for a long time against what might be termed religious literalism. That is, the acceptance of religious tradition, historical or mythological, as the foundation of spiritual security. The Greeks and the Neoplatonists, looking back upon the great concepts of Greco-Roman religion, found also that their security as individuals was threatened by an inadequate interpretation of spiritual doctrine. So today we are attempting, more or less progressively, to separate religion from the superstitions that have developed around it. But we do not wish to follow the attitude of the materialistic humanist who feels it is perfectly justifiable to burn down the church to get rid of the rat in the basement. We do not wish to destroy religion in order to save it. We do not wish to take an extreme attitude of casting away all because part is no longer useful. We know that to do this we offend many. That if we turn against religion, we turn against a strong and necessary force operating in the lives of millions of persons. We also realize, whether we like to admit it or not, that we have no ethical substitute, nothing to take the place of religion if we attempt to overthrow its influence. The Neoplatonists felt the same. They realized that their problem was not to destroy religion. Their problem was to rescue religion from the irreligious factors that had crept into its own structure. The first point that they attacked, and to a large degree we are focusing attention upon the same basic problem, is what might be termed dogmatic interpretation. They realized that religion was simply more than obeying, more than accepting, more than affirming that a man was good merely because he accepted a prevailing doctrine. Therefore, that the dogmatic use of religious instruments is essentially wrong. The individual should not assume or believe that virtue can be thrust upon him, or that the state of grace can descend upon him merely as the result of obedience to a formula, or to the acceptance of a theological doctrine. Neoplatonism, therefore, recognized the tremendous need for a religious house cleaning, that the purpose was to restore the natural faith of mankind, to recognize that this basic power of faith is one of the most positive and constructive forces, possibly the greatest incentive to essential cultural growth that man has ever possessed. Yet this faith has been exploited, not only intentionally but unintentionally. It has been subjected to centuries of overlaying with theology and with superstitions and with beliefs that are not an essential part of man's spiritual need. To meet all of these problems, the Alexandrian Neoplatonists sought for what they called a grand key for the restoration of the essential faith of mankind. Many works have been written trying to estimate the effect of Neoplatonism upon its own time and upon subsequent ages. The general consensus of opinion has been that this influence or effect has been tremendous, that it has been far beyond what might be assumed to be reasonable in relation to the comparatively small group of dynamic spirits involved in the school and its comparatively brief existence as an historical entity. Thus, it is assumed, perhaps correctly, that Neoplatonism was the training school of Christian theology, that nearly all of your important founding fathers within Christianity were Neoplatonists, that from the disciplines of this school they began to get an insight into the essential difference between religion per se and theology. And in their work, they used the instruments, of course, most naturally available to them. Their background was the great religious systems of Greece and Rome. We have already gone into some detail concerning the interpretation and the story of the Greek theogony, how the tremendous pantheon of divinities came into existence, and how these divinities were thinly veiled embodiments or personifications of universal forces, principles, and laws operating in the universe. These principles were known to some. They were known to Plato. They were known to Pythagoras, and probably to Socrates. They were at least intuitively sensed by Aristotle, although his type of mind was not given as much to abstract speculation as was the mind of Plato.